What's going on between the US and Iran? Is this the calm before the storm? Or are we actually moving toward a deal? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're breaking down everything that happened in the last 24 hours. And trust me, there's a lot to unpack. Let's start with the big picture. Tensions between the US and Iran have been at a boiling point for months now. But today, we saw something interesting. Both sides are still talking. But behind closed doors, it's a completely different story. Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, came out swinging today. He accused Israel of actively trying to destroy the new 14-point peace memorandum between the US and Iran. His exact words, and I quote, "The Zionist regime's entire effort was to disrupt this agreement." He went even further, calling it a document of defeat for America and the Zionist regime. Now that's strong language. But here's the question. Is he right? Or is this just political posturing? Let's dig deeper. So what's actually in this 14-point memorandum that's causing so much drama? According to reports, the agreement calls for an end to fighting in Lebanon. It demands respect for Lebanon's territorial sovereignty. It talks about returning displaced people to their homes. And most importantly, it requires the withdrawal of forces from occupied areas. Sounds reasonable, right? But here's the catch. Iran says if Israel keeps hitting Lebanon, it complicates everything. They're basically saying, you can't have peace in Lebanon while Israel is actively bombing targets there. And honestly, that's a fair point. But Israel sees it completely differently. And that brings us to the next part of this story. This is where things get really interesting. US Vice President J.D. Vance sent a blunt message to Israel yesterday. And when I say blunt, I mean blunt. He basically said, and I'm paraphrasing here, Donald Trump is the only head of state in the world who's actually sympathetic to Israel right now. If I were sitting in Israel's cabinet, I wouldn't be attacking my only powerful ally. He also reminded Israel that 2/3 of the weapons protecting them are American-made. And guess who's paying for that? US taxpayers. That's a direct shot across the bow. Vance is essentially saying, you need us more than we need you. So, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Now that's a hard-hitting message. And it tells you everything about where US-Israel relations stand right now. But here's the thing. Israel is not backing down. Prime Minister Netanyahu visited the security zone in southern Lebanon just yesterday, and he made it crystal clear where Israel stands. His words, as long as Hezbollah armed is here, threatening us, we are staying here. And he didn't stop there. He also warned that there will be a third time if necessary when it comes to striking Iran. Let that sink in. Israel is openly saying they will strike Iran again. Not if, when. Israel says it will act independently to prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons. They don't care what the US agrees to. They don't care about the 14-point memorandum. They care about one thing, survival. And that's the fundamental problem here. So what is the US actually doing behind the scenes? President Trump has discussed resuming war with Iran in recent days. I know, that sounds crazy. But here's the twist. He's sticking with diplomacy for now. Why? Because he believes another round of attacks could completely derail the talks. So the US is basically walking a tightrope. On one hand, they want a deal. They want to avoid another war in the Middle East. On the other hand, they're frustrated with Israel. They're frustrated with Iran. And they're running out of options. Qatar is currently mediating. But here's the catch. There are no direct US-Iran talks happening. It's all indirect through Qatari mediators. That tells you how much trust there is between the two sides. Now, let's talk about Iran's side. Iran says it wants the return of territories. They want the removal of sanctions. And they want the withdrawal of US forces from the region. These are their non-negotiables. Here's what's interesting. According to the Interpress Service, the 14-point memorandum includes a commitment for Iran to use its influence to end conflicts in Lebanon, Gaza, and Yemen. So Iran is being asked to play the role of peacemaker. But can they actually deliver on that? Or is this just another piece of paper? Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. A full-scale US-Iran war wouldn't just affect those two countries. It would destabilize the entire region. We're talking about oil prices skyrocketing. We're talking about supply chains breaking down. We're talking about global markets crashing. And who suffers the most? Ordinary people, families, communities, the ones who have nothing to do with the politics. Now, before we wrap up, here are our sources for today, so you know exactly where we're getting this information. We've pulled from India Today, Z News, ANI News, Haaretz, The Wall Street Journal, Asianet News.